there. We did virtual tours. We've, been able to reach out to, some accounts in Illinois, that I wouldn't necessarily see as regularly.
Welcome to another episode of The Collective Perspective. I'm here with Alex from 18 Distilling. Alex, give everybody a little bit of background on yourself and where you're sitting right now, and just a touch on your business.
Sure, yeah. So I'm here actually at the bar in the tasting room. We're in the Ivy City neighborhood, Northeast DC. We've been distilling here for about 7.5 years. 18 Distilling is founded by myself and my partner, Sandy Wood. He and I go back to our undergrad days, way back when. But about 8.5, 9 years ago, we came up with the idea of starting a distillery. We were the second distillery to open in DC since Prohibition. And it's been an amazing ride.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So amazing ride. I ask everybody this because it's, the last 2 years has been just crazy for everybody. So I'd love to hear how's the pandemic for you? What was anything good come of it? And maybe give me some of the tough stories that you had to fight over the last 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, we're not out of the woods yet, but it's getting better every day. Just these last few weeks, we've had people in the tasting room again. We had opened last fall for a while, last spring, through the fall. And we had closed during Omicron, and that's fun. But we've been open again. We actually had a concert in here a couple weeks ago. It was great to have a band. And it's a fun organization called So Far Sound. They're an international organization. It's real fun. They always bring in some new acts, and it's just great to have people in here and enjoying themselves. But yeah, it has been tough. Not going to sugarcoat the pandemic at all. We of course had the tasting room closed for a long time, and a lot of our business is through on-premise. It's through our partners in restaurants and bars around. A lot in this area, but also, Maryland and Delaware, elsewhere. And that's just really hurt us for quite some time. It hurt everybody for a while. And that's been picking up again, which has been great. I've been going out again and enjoying cocktails with our spirits, and it's been a lot of fun. I think some of the toughest parts were, we could help with the hand sanitizer. Which we switched our production over for months, but that was a real bear. And then, we like many distillers, thought we could continue to help and made more than was needed. And everyone switched back to their usual providers, and we kind of got left holding a lot of sanitizer. No fun there, but, we'll put that behind us. I think, if I'm going to pick one, silver lining, is you and I, virtually having a conversation together. We did virtual tours. We've, been able to reach out to, some accounts in Illinois, that I wouldn't necessarily see as regularly. So I think that's been the one good thing, and we'll continue to do more of this virtual experience going forward. It won't have to disappear completely, even though folks can come see us now at the tasting room.
Yeah, I hear a lot of good things about continuing these virtual kind of experiences with everybody, because to your point, it's like, how were you going to get that person in Illinois before? Right. And now everyone's kind of used to it. They're kind of used to talking, and I always thought it's the coolest thing in the world. It's like you can get the owner. You know what I mean? It's not just like a rep of a distributor who you don't even really know representing your brand. It's you live from the distillery. So I think that's really cool. You mentioned the tasting room. I wanted to ask you, you're essentially kind of running. I mean, I've not been there yet. I've seen pictures. It looks like you've got not just a tasting room, but an event space. Is that correct?
Yeah, we do. We have a good amount of space. We host events also in the production space. We'll clear out tanks and, have the bigger events out there once in a while.
How is that running? And that's almost like another business in itself. Is that like, Is that like awesome, or you're like, oh my god, I can't believe I got such a big space that I'm hosting these events? Or are you just trying to break even so people can taste your whiskey, or is that literally like another event or another company that you're running simultaneously with your whiskey with your 1A distilling brand?
Right. I mean, our primary objective is the brand, is distilling spirits, is making whiskey, gin, vodka, and that's really what we're all about. Having the space, we've got to use it, and you know, a lot of people want that different venue for their events, whether it's a corporate event or a private event. We've hosted weddings, a bar mitzvah,
Cool.
you know, whatever, and it is a great opportunity to bring people to the distillery and to introduce them to our spirits that wouldn't necessarily otherwise come to Ivy City for a tasting or a cocktail on a Saturday afternoon. So there is the benefit to doing these events, but often it is, you know, it is an extra hassle to, especially if it's a larger thing that it affects the production side, you know, move everything out on a Friday afternoon and put everything back Sunday before we got to start mashing again Monday morning. Yeah.
I love it. It's super cool because I always saw, you know, a lot of places with, you know, a tasting room, like literally like it's a room that you do tastings. And I'm like, you know, I'm talking to your team and I'm seeing the pictures. I'm like, this looks like a full-on bar. It's like a full-on event space that he's running over there. So
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you're doing that. So let's kind of back up a little bit to the beginning. Tell me, you know, you touched upon it a little bit, but tell me, you know, how did this business start? What did it look like in the beginning? I mean, I can't imagine people always approach me like, let's start a brand. Let's start a tequila brand. I was like, no way, no way. So, you know, kind of give me what year 1, 2, 3 looked like for you and sort of the ups and downs of
Sure.
starting a micro distillery, especially a distillery right in DC.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, really, we did not know what we were doing. I'll be perfectly frank, perfectly honest here. You know, I really focused, and up until really recently, most of my focus has been on what goes in the bottle. You know, I've been the head distiller. Only last month have I sort of transferred up to sitting at a desk upstairs a lot of times and not on the production floor every day. But that's really, yeah, it's exciting. It's a change. So yeah, I had my head down trying to make great spirits for the first few years, and that was and how to fill bottles and all that good stuff. Ultimately, yeah, I mean, in some ways, yes. In some ways, we were ignoring the most important pieces, which was what is our brand? What is 1A? And how do we get that out to new customers and introduce it? And, you know, it's taken us a while to figure that out. And we've really been focusing on that in the last year. And going forward, we're actually going through another tweak to the brand, a little rebrand. 1A Distilling it will still be the name of our space and our company, but really we're about district made spirits. And that has been the name on the bottle from day one on the vodka bottle, and for the last over 4 years on our core range. But really we want to, we sort of took baby steps to district made, and now we're jumping in and we're all about district made.
Got it. So in the beginning, it was more about just the basics, the product, getting things. And I feel like you kind of just jumped into it and then started figuring out the other stuff along the way. So with that being said, what, you know, give me some examples of success for you now. I mean, now that you're 8 years in, you know, you've obviously understand the production, the bottles and all that stuff. You've got the branding, you know, what has success been looking like for you over the last few years?
Sure. I mean, for me, I feel great about what we make, and the success is starting with the grain grown on farms in Maryland and Virginia, and developing those relationships. First, it was one farm, then 2, and now we work with 3 great farms that we partner with. They're growing heirloom grains for us. It's just keeping it local, being as sustainable as possible, but also local for the terroir, for expressing the flavor of the Mid-Atlantic in our spirits. That's my first success, and primary goal for this was to respect what the farmers were growing and to bring those flavors true to the bottle. So that's really been our biggest success. Selling cases, of course, is great too. Getting the accolades, the awards, the medals, the reviews, it's always great to know that, I feel good about what we're making, and I've always loved the flavors, but to know that others are appreciating it as well. That's success.
That's awesome. I mean, you're really just concentrating on things locally, and how do you make your product better instead of literally just, it's great. Like you said, great to sell cases, but it's even cool to work with local companies and to grow the business the right way. That's pretty cool. So, and we've touched upon, from year 1 to 8, what's the future looking like for you? That everyone keeps telling me whiskey category keeps growing. How are you going to capture that audience? What are you guys looking for in the future, and how are you going to do it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, step one is getting through this rebrand. And I think we have a great message. We want to get that message out. And, for us, it is, making the spirits with the heart of rye. We love rye. It is really, it's the original American whiskey. The rye is also the primary grain in our vodka and our gin. We are distilling in-house from grain those clear spirits as well.
Yep.
So, I think getting that message out is the first step to the future. And then, expanding the brand as we're able to. I want our whiskey to get older. Right now we have a bourbon that is, our next batch will be over 4, is our standard bourbon, but still coming out with new and inventive things. I love the American single malt category, and we have been distilling single malt. We haven't released a drop of it yet. So that's coming. But we still have to play. We have to have fun. But ultimately, it's about our core bourbon and rye. And, we just love making them a little bit different, a little bit out of the box. They do things extremely well in Kentucky. I'm not going to compete with that. I'm going to do it our way here in DC, with our mash bill. And I think that's the key for us. Smart growth. We can't expand, nationwide and selling all over Europe and Asia and, overnight. It's going to, slow steps, expanding. We'd love to get our spirits up to New York. Hopefully we'll be ready soon.
Nice.
And we're excited to do that in a smart way. I've seen distilleries that have expanded too much too fast, and that 4-year bourbon next batch is going to be 3.5 because they don't have enough stock. And I never want to take that step back. I want it 4-year to be a 5-year, and going forward. Getting it older and older in the barrel.
I've seen.
I think.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think, the bourbon is our biggest seller, and I think a lot of our success will ride on that. But I think the other whiskeys, the rye whiskey, and the other more experimental small batch whiskeys that we have going, I think can play to a lot of folks out there. I think rye is definitely seeing a comeback now, since, it's been down for a while, to be honest. The last 5-10 years, it's really starting to come back. I'm excited to be a small part of that.
Yeah, it's cool. And it's cool that you're doing it your way. Cause I mean, to your point, I've seen brands expand very quickly. And then, they're like, oh geez, you can't, fulfill everything. But I've also seen, brands that just don't do it. They do try to compete with Kentucky, like we're better than Kentucky bourbon. And everyone like eye roll, like, are you? You know what I mean? Like, to your point, like they've got it pretty locked down over there. So you can't really badmouth Kentucky bourbon, right? You're not going to win with that. But if you do it your way in your city, how you want to do it, that's a story that people can hold on to. So I think that's really cool. I wanted to ask you, you guys were part of our Whiskey Washback event, which was super cool, and glad you're a part of it. I wanted to ask you from an owner, a distiller standpoint, what do you look for in events? I mean, are you guys doing a lot of tastings outside of the tasting room? Are you doing a lot of events, first of all? And if so, what do you look for in an event? I mean, just to give some knowledge to my other event producers, why or not are you doing somebody's event or sponsoring some event?
Right. No, I think It's great. The events are great. Your event was one of the first we've done in a long time, coming out of this pandemic. And it was just so much fun. I think both having a table amongst that great company is always exciting. It was fun to see some folks I hadn't seen in a while that were working with some other brands out there, but just a great customer base, lots of folks coming to the table. That was all a great experience. To be honest, though, the opportunity I had to do a little blending seminar upstairs was really awesome. I mean, as you were just mentioning about, I was mentioning you're agreeing, not competing with Kentucky. I mean, how we do that is with using, more unique heirloom grains, the Hickory King corn, to be able to talk about that with some folks upstairs in an intimate setting in that big event, was a great opportunity. So, we definitely want to participate in more events. We'd love to do more washbacks, maybe even join New York one as well when we're ready for that. And next year definitely in DC again. I think these are the ones that are good opportunities for us. I always love to be in the craft focused scene, but really, to be honest, that's not reality. Folks aren't going to stay just in the craft lane. When they're buying a bottle of whiskey or gin or vodka, they're going to look at everything that's on the shelf. And so I'd love to be at events where there are big brands and craft brands, and people can taste the difference and talk to people and see what they like,
So, I mean, obviously, having that separate room, to be able to talk to, guests in more of an intimate setting was important. So I think that's great. I mean, because I think it's, with a brand like yours, telling the story, I mean, tasting it's one thing, but telling the story, getting to know you is a game changer. So just good to know. And I know a lot of events that people are just throwing wild parties, which are fun. But when I used to represent brands, I was like, I don't see any brand education happening here at all. Like, I'm having a good time. We're all drunk. But I really would like to talk to these customers in a little more quieter setting. So that's good to know. So before I let you go, I want to hear, we talked about your beginning in the story, for other entrepreneurs out there, if you had some words of wisdom, maybe one or two key things to do, one or two key things not to do starting a business. If you had to talk to your younger self, what would be those words of wisdom to the future entrepreneurs out there of what to do and what not to do when starting a business?
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to make mistakes. Yeah. And to be honest, that's the best way to learn. For many of us, I'm not going to say for everybody, certainly for me, we've learned a lot. We've made some mistakes. But yeah, I think, lesson one was it's never too late to start something new. I had almost 20-year career in biotech, and before we started 1-8, and it was an exciting career for me. I loved it, but I like my new lab a lot more. So it's never too late to start something new. Just go for it. I think we touched on this earlier. If I was to, I think focusing more on the brand message, that is key. We didn't have that before. We knew what we wanted, we knew what we liked, but actually putting that together clearly in words would have been, of great value. And that's a tough one. You don't necessarily get that. For me, I focused on, again, what was going in the bottle, what grain I was buying, how to distill, interning with other great distillers, learning those things. That was the easy part, but really getting that message together, and then just be true to that message, make sure it's an important message to you, and, something that can resonate with your customer base. So we hope that being true to the heart of rye, being true to our local farms, and, enjoy something that is district made. It's not just what's happening down the road at Capitol Hill and beyond,
Yeah.
That's what we're about.
Yeah.
So,
It makes sense. And, I always get that question asked to me, like, yeah, I've started a business and like, what do you recommend? And, I tell them patience, because you are going to fail. Like, right. You're going to fail here, fail there. As long as you're
yeah,
learning from that, I know that's a thing that's said over and over again, but as long as you're learning from that and moving forward, you're going to be okay. And I'm probably more like you. I'm a just jump in and start doing it and learning kind of person. Like I had
right,
a marketing friend. He's like, well, what is your, he's like asking me all these questions. I'm like, I don't know. I got this thing and I'm going to do this thing. And we're going to go forward. And, but luckily I had a guy like that on my side. Like, no, you do need your messaging and people need to understand who you are and why you're doing it. But I think, to your point is like, sometimes you just got to get your feet wet, jump in, start figuring
right,
things out and realizing it's not always going to be perfect in the beginning.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, our first Rock Creek white whiskey, that first time around, hey, I apologize to you now if you enjoyed one of those bottles, because that was a little rough, but thanks for sticking with it. Because we're making some great booze now.
That's awesome. And I love the transparency. So before I let you go, how do people find you? Your Instagram or your, just 1A Distiller Instagram or
Yeah,
website. What's the best way to buy bottles? Share all the knowledge, how people can find you and buy the
of
product.
course. Yeah, I mean, we're not widely distributed yet. DC, Maryland is mostly where our distribution is, and Illinois.
Got
Um,
it.
but there are some great retail partners that we have here in DC that can ship. So if you go to our website, 18distilling.com, for the moment, it will switch to district made spirits. So,
Got it.
get ready to change your bookmark. And for now, we are 18D. So it's spelled out 18D. Yeah, on our social media handles. And again, that'll change to district made spirits soon enough. So it's a really big transition time for us. We're looking forward to the next step, the next level, and this change.
Yeah.
But
Well, listen.
I'm going
Yeah.
to keep making the great booze.
You keep making it, we'll keep drinking it. Well, listen,
Right.
man, I appreciate your time and I love this story. And I love that, I'm a 40-minute drive from your distillery. I think it's cool that, well, before I let you go, you said you're the
Yeah.
first or the second distillery in DC. Is that correct?
Yeah. Second. Yeah.
And how is that possible, legal? I always heard back in my bartending days, they're like, oh, you cannot have a distillery in like a big city because you basically
Right.
could explode or something. I don't know. Like, how are those rules and laws changing to make a distillery right inside of a city?
Sure. I mean, federal laws have been pretty consistent as far as that goes, and you have to be in a part of the city that's safe in case of
Got
an
it.
accident. So a more industrial part of the city, although you are seeing exceptions to the rule.
Hmm.
Um, but we are in a very industrial part of town. There aren't any residences that close.
Got it.
As far as DC went, the first distillery to open really opened doors for the rest of us.
Hmm.
Those guys really got things done with the city's government. So it was the original folks behind New Columbia Distillers, the Green Hat Gin guys, who are just a few blocks from us. They were the first, and we've really developed a little booze community here in the Ivy City neighborhood of DC. So if you're not familiar with it, it's a great way to spend a Saturday afternoon, because there's 4 distilleries, 2 breweries, a cidery, a winery, all within walking distance. So
Oh, wow. So
yeah,
Ivy City is the place to go
it
for
is.
breweries, distilleries, everything to drink in DC. That's good to know. I like it.
Yep, yep,
Awesome.
yeah.
Well, listen, brother, I'll let you get back to it, man. I appreciate your time again. I appreciate you guys being part of the Whiskey Washback event with the Bowery Collective. And thanks for doing this,
Our
man.
pleasure.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Walt. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll see you guys all next time.